All right, let's take a look at the first hour of the Open on the YM this morning. We had a expanding triangle, and it tested each level. It tested both extremes again. So we have a pretty good trading range going on. Just keeps going back and forth. So our initial idea was the market was going to move up and then turn back down. And so, and again, you can't really, how I trade, since I only trade for 45 minutes to an hour each morning, it just gives me a little idea. It doesn't really do much. I just follow the system. And so we had the open, and the open, it started printing some up bars here. And we had any pullback probably would want to buy, but usually you could probably let this first couple of minutes go by without worrying about it too much. And we just know that we have a sell gap here. It went through and then it reversed as it was over it. And so remember what we talked about. If that's the case, it's likely that that's going to be taken away. And the market made this big move all the way back down to fill the gap of the open and close. So what would be the best bet? Well, once this market started moving up, probably anywhere in the double doji here, this double doji, you could probably get an entry bar on the next bar that closes up after it and just hold on to it for your profit target. Or once we have the higher time frame turn, usually we get at a minimum 1 to 2 bars. So at a minimum 1 bar for sure on the higher time frame, which means that we could at least get a scalp out of it. And usually if you move your stop to break even once that turns, you usually could get a pretty good run on almost all of the trades. Now, if you had a little more, strategy to your trading plan, as hey, you only trade when the market does this, or some rules based and not just taking turns, you probably will do a lot better. But either or. So we had this sell gap, and it turned over, and about right here as it starts to come back through, we know that we're going to at least print out 10 to 20 more points at that point. And why is that? Because we get a turn on the higher time frame, and so you have quite a bit of momentum there. And this continued on back down to here. So if you're looking at taking that upward side, there wasn't really much that gave it away. We're above the X rock here. We're above 50. We're above the X rock. So the buying side's pretty good right there. And then when it turns down, it just went all the way. Now, once we came down here back to the close, we did get some divergence right here. And so once we have a full close bar right here or there, the second bar, either one, that would have been a good place to go long. Now, once we had this print right up here near the highway, we had a full bar reversal on the higher time frame. So if that being said, as soon as you get any type of pullback and an entry, you would enter here, and also we're above our X rock there, so you would have entered there on this first signal bar, and you would have just let that run back out to the sell gap there. I wouldn't try to go through the sell gap because it usually struggles quite a bit before it goes through most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. So same thing like on the open. If you caught a double doji here, I'd probably looking to just scalp out, even though it kind of went right through at the top there. So we get another turn here and another entry, but this is right at that sell gap, so I would probably be waiting. You get some divergence here, some order flow divergence, as well as divergence on our convergence divergence indicator. And so you could take that. You would have to understand that it's not going to go very far, most likely, and because the higher time frame hasn't turned yet, so we're not going to get a big turn, and usually it double tops or triple tops on the lower time frame here. So with that being said, you could have got a good scalp out of that, but that's about all there was to it. And then we have a hidden divergence trade here to go back up, and again, there doesn't go very far. Even if you're trying to go through the gap, the sell gap, it did wallop here, so it went down, went up, went down, so you had plenty of time to jump out right there. So you would have got a pretty good win on that as well. We do have divergence here again, so once that bar closed right there, that signal bar, the down bar closed, you could have got into that trade right there. It would have pulled back on you. It wouldn't have taken you out. Your stop would have been up here. And then you would have caught that good win. So, and you can see how we were just coming back underneath the X rock here, our white dash line there. And actually, this would have been the better spot right here, where it was totally underneath, no messing around. It crosses on that entry bar there, and you would have taken that trade. But you got an extra 5 points out of that by taking it there and feeling the heat. But I'm not sure if that's always worth it. It comes up here, and we're going to try to get another bounce off of that. And it looks like we almost get two double dojis almost there, which is an interesting thing because they're both down bars, but there was a lot of buying inside of it. So not sure you want to be selling here. It didn't make it to the open back here. So whenever things fail to make it back there, you got to be concerned. And so we had a big rush back up. We had this big rush down and a big rush right back up to those highs. So it's a trading range morning. So I mean, we had it down, we had it up, and so we had it up and down. So that makes that a giant pin bar or doji bar on a time frame chart. And then we had this big run back up here, 35. So that's a whole, let's call it a 5-minute bar that's closing on its high. So at this point, you're probably looking at this going higher. So I would be really careful with selling. Now once we climb back above, we get right over here, we get a you get a bar that prints on the higher time frame as an up bar. We get these dojis through here. I think we had 645 news. I'm not 100% certain, but and then we come up here above this sell gap again, and that sell gap just gets eaten, so it disappears. And we do have divergence on the higher time frame here, so this is a good spot to try to go short. If you didn't go short here, this second bar tail, see how there's a tail on the top of that? That's a good trade right there. Usually those work out really well. It has divergence on it on the higher time frame, and you also have divergence here, but like I said, it's a little less obvious because of how many bumps there are between bumps. But that would have been a good run right back to the open. And if you didn't clean it off, you'd probably want to clean it off on the double dojis there. And then we get another printed bar about right up here over the highway on the higher time frame. So again, if you didn't take this buy trade right here at the open and off the spans as well, you see the spans were right there. So it's a good spot. And also because of our gap, our sell gap being taken away, we would be looking at probably the next sell gap, which is up here, and there's an open. So, and you know what I said about opens. The opens are usually good targets. So, so you could have caught this run here, but even though you could have waited, and you wait for the pullback, and then wait for a signal bar again. And there we go. We have a signal bar, and so this would be a good spot. Or like I said, you might end up waiting for a double bounce here, for it to swing back down to the spans. Either way, here you might have taken a loss, and on the other side, because at this point we have a full bar printed on the higher time frame, so that means that this isn't likely going to go back up here. And I say isn't likely, meaning that after it prints a full down bar on the higher time frame, you're usually going to get at least 10 to 20 more points in that same direction at a minimum. So, and a lot of times it's, 60, 70, 100 points that moves. So when I say that here, you don't want to be trying to buy most likely this first trigger back up, because it's most likely going to fail. And so it doesn't mean that it can't. I mean, I just haven't seen it happen too often. So I'd wait till it hits the span or the open again before buying. Oh, look, see, there it went down, finished its second leg down. And this down here now, this at the spans and at the open, it's not making it back here, so we're getting a higher low. Could be a good spot, but you would want to clean this off, here up by these highs here, because, or at least really start trailing your stop, because we didn't make a higher high either. So we didn't make a lower low, and we didn't make a higher high previously. So and look, it kind of wallops right there, and you might get out. I mean, I do a lot of times. And then it finally takes off, and of course I missed some of those. And then we get a double doji. Likely that span's gonna suck this. It's gonna be a vacuum, so you could enter on a retracement here or a break of those highs, and it double dojis again, and it moves right up to the span there, so not too bad. And it's probably gonna double top on that span. And there we go. And then we got divergence here and a signal bar. So this could definitely be some type of sell opportunity here. And again, once you get down to these lows, I would be really careful and protecting your trade. And it gets a little wallop there, and then it kind of stalls again. And quite frankly, you probably got to break even on this trade. I mean, it's pretty hard to, those both came back to an entry. So pretty hard. Didn't really take off or anything. And we got, I think, news at 7. So we're just a little before 7 here. And so I'd be looking for some type of double bounce or something here as the market kind of tries to figure out what it's going to do. And here we get a double bottom within 2 ticks of each other here, or 2 points. Same thing as what this is up here. It's within 2 points of itself. Same thing with this over here. That's 2 points of itself. So we got some pseudo divergence. So, and we got a little tail on that. So kind of a slingshot here. And once that prints that upward bar, let's call it right here, one more bar here. At this bar, it's printed a full bar on the buy side now. So at this point, you would want to go long, and your stop would be, just right down here somewhere. And you would just run this out, at least to the span there. And then from that point, like I said, we have that open up there. So you'd want to at least try to hold for the open. And it looks like it went quite a bit out there. So 7 o'clock now. So we're up to that open area there, and this is I was saying we're going to go to about the 650 area before we reverse. So at this point, we'd still be looking for a bit more movement to the upside. I'm not sure it got to 650 completely. I think we got, oh, I said 6 to 700. Sorry, I was a little off. So it went to about 600 this morning. So we got about 80 more points to go up. So be basically looking for every pullback we can and any type of divergence. We could take a reversal scalp. And so we have a push up through the open here, and we have a little bit of divergence here, but we don't have any order flow divergence. We just have a little bit of divergence. I would wait for it to double top, double bounce, that kind of thing, before you start doing something like that. And I was watching here for a sell opportunity because I remember it came back underneath the X rock here, where X rock's really high, up near 70, and whenever it's done that, it usually gets a little pullback. And so I was waiting for it, and it kind of came up inside this gap zone here, and that was a good spot here to take this back down to the open. And see, we have divergence here, and we're underneath our rate of change, and that turned out to be a pretty darn good trade. Went to the span. Of course, what happens at the span? It gets a bounce, and of course we have a buy gap here. So this would be a good spot just to go long. You could take the trade right there on that signal bar, and you just hang on to it, and that would have been a good win there as well. If you were trailing the stop, you would have got a little bit less, but other than that, we got another buy gap here. We have that big sell gap that's right here that hasn't gone through yet, so it's still respecting it. So we'll see what happens if it can get up through that. So another signal bar here, and again, we're not quite at this point, we're not quite bullish. We're kind of neutral. It's trying to decide what it's going to do. So we don't have any full bars going either direction yet on the higher time frame. So, but once this print out, I don't know how many bars here, but about one more bar here. So once it printed this bar here, then we got the full bar. So at that point, we know we're going to go at least 20 more points. And it kicks out about 4 more bars, so about 20 more points, and then it pulls back right at the top of that span, and that pink span is going to become a magnet as well as this kind of comes in. So, and we get a little bit of a pullback here again, and so I'd be looking for again just some entry here on the next bar. We had a double doji and then a signal bar for a double doji, which you're above the highway. It's not a good spot. You want those below the highway or enough room so you can get out. But then it puts in another doji and a signal bar here. So that would be a good place to suck that right into that pink span. That becomes like a vacuum when the price gets near it, and there it went right to it. So that could have been a good win. We also have a second bar tail, so you could have taken that second bar tail, 1, 2, 3, 4. That would have been an easy, good 20-point win as well. So we have divergence up here. Again, divergence. We have these sell gaps in place, so they're going to be defended. So you could actually sell that signal bar right there as well, because it's just what happens. They're going to defend it. So you sold it, and you got 10, 20, 30, and it would have maybe been 40 points, but you probably got clipped out with a break even if it went 10, 20 and moved your stop to break even. Or if you just took out, 5, 10, 15 points, you might have been okay. Either way. But we have a double bottom here, and we got a little bit of divergence, and you see what happened now. Remember what we talked about. Price actually pushed all the way through that one gap zone. So now this gap zone is not respected. So it's going to disappear. So we look at the next gap zone. Well, that's this gap zone right here. So this is the next gap zone we're looking at. So this is that 600 area. So I would be looking to sell anything in the middle of this gap zone, put the stop right above it, and hope for the best. And also, you could actually hope to have a runner all the way back down to the bottom, because that was the idea this morning. But not that I do that too often. Every once in a while we catch a good one. But we get a double top here. It's buy gap. It's a sell gap. It's the span. I would sell that. And it goes down, and that's probably where I would have taken this off, at that span. So it kind of goes through it into this other gap here, and then we get a little pullback, and then or a stall right there, and then it just continues down. So we're down here. We get some weird, just some straight divergence, so it's not the greatest on that side. And then we get forward here so we can see what's going on. All right, so yeah, that was a pretty big move back down. I don't know if I would be buying this right here. I mean, there is a buy gap here, and so you could chance it. I mean, this buy gap's going to disappear because it went through this upper one, but this lower one, we know it's going to disappear because it went through that one. So I would be careful with the buy gap. I would look for pullbacks, and then for it to continue to test that and try to push through it. And again, because it went through it, it's going to go through it, and that's usually what happens. So it doesn't have to happen, but it usually happens that way. All right, so the market makes its move up. We get a doji bar here. We are above our XROC now, but on higher time frame, we're under the highway and looking for sells. So you're looking for sells. You did get a full bar printed here, and this is one of those funky spots where it says it doesn't happen very often. We got a full bar printed, up bar printed. It's right into the highway and everything, and then the next bar fails. So does it, as I was saying, it happens, but that's like once all day that happened right there. One bar happened. So you wouldn't want to buy right here, just because as we were talking about, those buy gaps got pushed through, disrespected. So you're looking to sell. We get a triple doji here, and you could sell a triple doji. I think that's a triple doji, and then you get a sell bar. I think you could sell that. Moves down. Oh, I went a little too far, but we got really good divergence here, and our convergence divergence is almost over our rate of change here. It looks really clean, off near the span as well. So it'd be a good spot for a pullback. And then usually when you see divergence, it's going to give you a pullback. Could even be more than a pullback, but either way. And that was a good move. Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't sit around this long, so this is all new to me, what happened here. So usually I'm done by 7:15, so I didn't even see this run today. All right, so that's about an hour in, so we could keep going, but I'm just keeping it short. We'll see you on the next one.